Welcome back to X4. Yep, and we're approaching a gate. We'll come to that in just a second. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some game updates. So, what version 1.3.2? Sorry, 1.32. Wait a second. 1.3.2. I was right the first time. Yep, that's now out, and that fixes the war apparently. Now, my save game started in version 1.0, so I want to test whether my war is actually going to work fine, or whether the vessels are going to work fine. If you remember, I did a mission a few episodes ago where the Xenon pretty much ignored me. You know, they're just like, yeah, hey guy, yeah, just scan us, yeah, we're fine. I'm going to go and test that. Now, I did have a little bit of a test ahead of recording, and yes, they do appear to fire. Whether or not I'll survive this one is something else entirely, but I've taken a save game just because we want to do an explore and see how well these ships are now kicking off. So I'm just going to head through this gate while I talk about some other stuff. Egosoft, in the typical down-to-earth style, have released a new video, and they're talking about some upcoming updates. So the first update is before Christmas, and the second one is sort of January, February time. The first update before Christmas has lots of just miscellaneous stuff that people, sort of feedback from people on when they first start the game. So things like they weren't able to find missions. You know, they were like, where do I go? Well, a lot of them tried to speak to people on stations, and they couldn't speak to people on stations to get missions because people criticized that in Rebirth, which is the last game in the X series. So now you'll be able to speak to people on stations. They won't have missions, but they'll direct you to where the missions are, and that's a much better system all around. Because people who don't want to do that don't have to worry about it. It doesn't affect you. Other things, sort of brief.
451.
Yep, so we're in Matrix 451. Sorry, I should explain where I am. I was in INMS 04, Matrix 451. There's another system above here as well, but we'll get to that shortly. So yeah, that 1.5 update has got lots of miscellaneous stuff, just little bits and pieces of user interface stuff, and I wouldn't worry about it mainly. The bigger change is in version 2, or what they're calling version 2 at the moment, which is in January, February, where we'll be able to build full shipyards. Yep, full player shipyards, and that will be amazing, but apparently very expensive, because the shipyards are not going to be an easy thing to actually make. While we're going here, why don't we just sort of head over here somewhere. And go into travel mode. Now, when I came to this zone in my test, there were some mining ships, some small ships, and another jump gate. So it's worthwhile as exploring anyway, and we're just going to fly past the Xenon, and maybe even try to take one or two on, while my miners are still happily mining away. Now, there's one, Power Distribution Unit S. Okay, there's a small ship, and it's on my left, so why don't I just go and start guidance to that instead. And let's head this way. Now, my turrets are currently set to fire at whatever I've got targeted. So if I target this, the turrets should automatically lock on and fire. You see these brackets? If you just have the target reticle without the brackets, they'll fire at all enemies. This way, they'll fire at just targeted enemies. So, I'm going to get a little bit closer, and let's see if they lock on. They should do. And start firing, hopefully. It is a small ship, though, so apparently they have had difficulties, but they are beam turrets, and we should have enough crew to do it. So, we'll see. Maybe I have to fire on it first, but I wouldn't have thought so. In any case, we can do that. Hi. Yeah, the turrets aren't reacting yet. And this ship isn't actually firing back. Now, the one in my test did. Oh, no, it's running. It's definitely running. Ah, yeah. And now it's firing back at us. And our beams are now firing at it as well. You'll see those beams going from the bottom middle of the screen. And we're getting a little bit too close. And there it goes. More importantly, loot. Loot, my friends, loot. Decryption module and some Nividium. Okay, well, that's fine. Maybe I shouldn't be backing up while I'm trying to drag loot with me. And it's O for tractor beam, by the way. Lots of people were asking about that. Decryption module. and that's fine. So decryption module, and along with it every other thing's dropped by the Xenon, let you craft more advanced stuff. We'll get to that once I have enough of it. However, is that the gate I came through? Yes, it is. So there is another gate. That's the station, the defense platform, and I'm gonna have to leave them, I think, a little while, because in my save game they haven't really started to ramp up yet. Now, I did find the mining up here, so I am going to go and see if we can have a bit of an explore while I talk a little bit more. So if you haven't checked it out as well, I've just started a game up in LitCube in X3, which is sort of the peak of X3's whole journey of modded games, which try to improve the base game, and it has a lot of features that we see in X4, so I think maybe the developers may have looked at that. So if you fancy that as well, I'm sure the developers won't mind you buying another one of the previous games, but you can get the Terran War Pack on Steam for about £15, and the mods are free. Have a look at that other series if you fancy sort of game at the very end of its progress, i.e. a lot of stuff have been done to it, and you can let me know what you think of that. However, speaking of mods, the developers are saying in this video that they posted, yep, they do have, they do understand about mods. They definitely want to support them, very much so. They're just getting rid of a lot of the launch issues, so give them a little bit of time. I can understand that. They are going to be adding, of course, Steam Workshop support. Let's slide sideways. Can we slide sideways? Yeah. They are going to be adding Steam Workshop support, and that's where you'll get your mods. So it'll be really quite easy to do that. Ooh, and another gate. Or if that's a gate and not a station. Let's zoom out. Where are we? Matrix 9. Okay, we're sliding sideways. Why don't we just go and head that way? Is that an inactive gate or an active gate? It doesn't look active, but I am 60 kilometers away. Could be a station even at this distance. Can't really tell until we get closer. And what are you? 49? 48? Yeah, you're an inactive jump gate. Now, I'm not sure about these. I assume they're going to be for DLC. Because there's a few of them. There's one in Argon Prime, and or at least I think it's in Argon Prime. It's been a while since I did some exploring, but don't know of any way to activate them at the moment. Maybe they're just reserved for future use, or indeed if the Xenon call in backup, which would be bad, but more expected. Alright, I'm going to keep exploring, and then we'll see if we can find another fight with something that fires back a little bit more than that small ship. Again, we'll keep these turrets on, just to talk about these modes. This mode is defensive, so if something fires on you, they'll fire back. This attacks all enemies. There's another ship. That's a raiding party hive guard. Okay, and what are you? Information? I have no information about them whatsoever. However, we know from the actual symbol that it looks like it's a fairly small, well, a medium. I think the single bar means like a medium ship, and it's a fighting ship, so we can go and have a look. Anyway, where was I? Yes, mods. So you'll be able to get those through the Steam Workshop, and we'll be happy to look at a few of those once they're out. At the moment, there are mods available. They're just on Nexus mods, and you can get them there, but it might be nice to actually get the full integration with Steam itself. And I'm going to continue to go and do some more. Oh, there's another one of those power distribution units. Some more exploration. So there's a solar power plant. Ideally, what I'd like to find is see if there's something like a, well, not defense platform, but a production platform. You know, a shipyard, a wharf, something like that. And we'll see whether the ships are coming out of it, or rather, if I stop harassing their mining ships, whether they come out of it. One of the strategies for X3 in particular was that if you wanted to harass the enemy, or particularly in LitCube, you can continually wear them down by depleting their credits, and by depleting their credits I mean killing their mining ships or killing their traders, anything with expensive stuff on that they have to replace, etc. And that will slow them down quite quickly if you destroy them enough. In this game, well, we don't quite know how that works yet, so let's go and continue to explore off camera, and I'll bring you back when I find something interesting. Speaking of interesting, here is a wharf. Now, here's what it is in my game. In your game, that might be something else entirely. Whoops. We don't have to turn before the wall, but it might be best for exploration purposes to do that. And if I turn towards this thing, roughly, there we go. Why don't we just put a marker on it? If I remember rightly, there were ships as I actually flew past like a coward and screaming like a little girl that there is some people coming after me. So yeah, there is one of those power distribution ships, and you'll see a lot more. So let's have a look what we've got going as we fly past it. So power distribution, mining ships, and more power distribution units. Okay, the mining ships are obviously the ones that bring in ore in, and that wharf then I would expect to be producing ships. Yes, so we've got to be a little bit careful here about what we do. Why don't we try and attack? Well, if we can find a mining ship that's not right next to the wharf, I wouldn't mind. And we're in a large mining zone, of course. The whole zone is, unfortunately. So I'm going to go and try and find one, and we'll try and fight one of those as well and see how difficult it is with this medium ship. And hopefully then our miners will have come up with enough change. They're slow. Come on, guys. I want to be able to get to a capital ship. Speaking of which, I'm still on 18, unfortunately, reputation. Let's have a look while I'm flying through an enemy sector, you know, without occurring in the world. 18 Argon Federation, now up to 14 with the Antigone Republic, and 14 with Taladi as well. So getting quite good reputation gains. Now, as I was flying by, I found the shipyard. It's in the same zone, Matrix 9. And I dropped an advanced satellite, which the Xenon promptly left the station with a destroyer and shot down. And it's heading for my little tiny small satellite as a backup for the main one. I put another one up here. I just want to keep an eye on them while I'm actually flying around the system. So yeah, they're kind of aggressive, but there's only one or so destroyers to start with. So I'm going to head up here and continue to explore while they shoot down my various emplacements. Now, of course, we could put something down to sort of stop them. For example, we could put some turrets around the jump gate back to IMS Zura. However, you may have seen, just as I jumped into here in the first place, there is like a small fleet near there. Now, I don't have a satellite down there, but there's certainly a number of medium and large ships just hovering on the other side of that jump gate. So it's certainly well defended on this side. And, you know, if one or two of those ships doesn't make it, you know, they have to abandon ship with with no one hurt, just abandon ship. That's it. Yeah. Then they'll have to replace that, and of course, you know, my hull part factory will be happy to supply them with hull parts to replace that if they need it. What have we got here? Raiding party, and your medium. Why don't we go and have a look at that hull part, the whole raiding party or whatever it's called? Raiding party? Yeah. And just to briefly explain, the rest of the symbols appear. This one is for shooting down missiles, then I presume that's for mining, and then back onto this same one, which is shoot down targeted, please. And that's the one I will leave them on for the moment. So here we're coming back towards that little raiding party. There it is. And we're going to basically slow down and see if we can sort of get to the proximity. And that's a small well, that looks like a small ship from the triangle there. Let's get a little bit closer. It does look pretty small. And I shouldn't use my shields. Really should not use my shields for boost. And we'll see if we can actually catch him somewhere reasonable and bring you on board for that. Okay, so our beam turrets are definitely working. They're shooting at it right. Well, they were when I was close enough, but there he goes. Yep, our beam turrets are working. So I have a front turret and obviously some side turrets as well. They are taking down its shield, so I don't really need to do anything. But I guess we could add our sort of volley of pulses to it, and we'll see where we get to there. So no problem in taking these down so far, although its shields are recharging. Its shields are recharging. So we'll get closer, take down its shields again. And, well, whoops, I probably should change across to the combat engines if I'm going to do this. They have a faster travel speed out of travel mode, which is actually pretty useful at this stage. Okay, so I'm going to destroy this ship. Hopefully... Oh, there it goes. Hull. And let's see what bounties it drops. Hopefully something good. You can see my indicators of the two dots. I'm going to need to line those up onto the sort of cross ahead of it. Now, there is an auto-aim option, and I haven't enabled that at the moment. My turrets should really help with this, to be honest. They shouldn't need me to do all that much on top, hopefully. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see my two weapons, these two things over here. If I have beams myself, they'll overheat and stuff like that. So this pulse, I think they're the pulse lasers that I have at the moment, or what are pulse weapons. They seem to be pretty good. And that ship could get destroyed in a second. Once my beams take care of it. Should go down any second, and let's see what it drops. Go on. You want to die, don't you? And come on. You know, it's just going to be difficult in trying to evade things. Unfortunately, that's also the problem with the turrets. If they don't have any visibility or anything like that, they won't fire. And this thing is dodging and weaving like crazy. I suppose as you would. There we go. So let's slow down and let's see what we got this time. So we got some more NVIDIA oxide and some tuning software. Let's grab all of you. Alright, does that... Oh, here's another one. Yeah, so it's not alone. However, in our medium ship, we should be able to take care of these fairly comfortably. And we'll see about doing that a little bit more. But I won't do it on camera, of course. It's stuff that you've already seen now. However, I did think I'd show you the difference with aim assist. It is off in the menu, and it helps so you can fly and your weapons won't have much of a harder time. You'll see where the two dots are, and they're not exactly following where my mouse is exactly, because we're using that as a joystick, of course. So if you are set to HOTAS or something like that, you may want to think about setting auto aim up like this. And that was certainly how it was in earlier X games. X is not like Conflict Free Space 2, or not like something that is purely based on space combat, and you can have a slightly easier time. So that's my highlight. That is, I think, illegal in some areas. High energy catalyst, however, I think I will take. And I'm moving away from it. Alright, let's just take a look at my player inventory. Are you illegal? Encyclopedia. Type of jewelry. Doesn't appear so, but I thought it was in previous ones in certain areas. Anyway, that's fine. Can we actually drop it from here? Just in case. Yep, we can. Easy enough. Okay, so some of the things we picked up, so let's have a look. The NVIDIA oxide, of course, is terrible. There's not much point in keeping it. That's not the same thing as NVIDIA ore, of course. Tuning software is worth almost nothing. Did we get anything else? High energy catalyst is again worth almost nothing. So I think these are going to combine in recipes to actually make something that's probably worthwhile more. So I'm going to leave them alone for now. There doesn't appear to be any limit on your personal inventory space, so I will continue to go and get some loot. However, for the rest of the episode, let's go back to our sort of nicer areas and see what we can do there. There is a blue ship in here. I'm not sure why we've got a construction vessel. Well, Taladi construction vessel being harassed by a raiding party, and that's the gate home. So this is the gate back to the Taladi space, and it's being harassed. So I think I'm gonna go and say hello to not my little friend, but say hello to this ship. Yeah, we'll back you up. Not that I think this will stop them long term. They will be going through that gate, I imagine, at some point. And so this is sort of semi destructive to my own profits, but you can't leave someone who needs help alone for profits, can you? I hope not. This ship is flying far too close. I want more loot, please. More loot. More loot. security decryption system and interface units. Okay. Were you being harassed by anyone else, or are you fine now? Well, we've got a destroyer and another destroyer and the gate home. Yeah, are you okay now? You seem fine, but there is another raiding party going around. I think I'll take out this one as well, and then we will go home. Speaking of upgrades, this is the ship I'd really like as a player, but I don't have the reputation yet with the Paranid. There's a Paranid ship called a Nemesis Vanguard. It's a corvette, and it has 5 front-facing weapons under player control. So not just turrets. You could leave those turrets in defense mode. It only has a single engine, I guess, at the back, but lots and lots and lots of weapons. Want this so badly, but I don't have the reputation yet. It's unfortunate. It's quite surprising. We almost have the capital ship reputation with the Argon, but nothing with the Paranid. Even though here's the wharf, and we've got lots of my ships around, just picking stuff up from this area outside. So hopefully at some point soon they will actually gain some reputation, and away we'll go. Also here on the map, in Hatikva's Choice, I did just see a destroyer come through from the Xenon. So it looks like they are actually active up there, and that area where we did the mission in Tharkas Cascade. However, what I also want to look at is whether things are being served, whether components are being served, whether the wharf has enough, and that gives an indication of whether everything's stagnating or not. If it's stagnating, you'll see full components across the board in a wharf or a shipyard. So why don't we have a look at that? So if we right-click on the wharf, click on information, you'll see we've got all this information about the wharf. Nothing much we care about there other than storage. So if you open that, you'll see a lot of this, they're full on. So they've not yet kicked into high gear. They are short of engine parts, food rations, of course, medical supplies, of course, and smart chips. So those have certainly not filled up yet, but they should fill up over time. Now, as the Xenons start coming through into Hatikva's Choice, hopefully, once they start bulking up, you should start seeing some of our side ships getting destroyed, our allies' ships, and this should start dropping. So that's the Argon wharf, and let's go and have a look at the Paranid. Paranid we can't tell. I don't have anything nearby. Is there anything nearby there? Looks like there is. No. I need to go and drop some satellites to be able to see that, presumably. So I'll go over to the Taladi Wharf. That's a nice area. And I will drop some satellites there. It's worthwhile doing, at least to get that kind of indication as to how your economy is going. Okay, the reason why I've not been getting large amounts of money this episode, at least large amounts relatively speaking, is that my miners have stalled. All the miners harvesting Nevidium like crazy, they certainly were able to get Nevidium, they just weren't able to sell it anywhere, so they just stopped. And you'll see them, when that happens, you'll see them in sort of the asteroid belt, but not really doing anything. The cargo hold will be full. So to change that, just go right-click and then right-click on one of them, let's say information, and you want to change their wares back, but then they still won't do anything, it seems, or at least in my game they didn't. So go across here, and then go to this bar, drag it all the way to the left, and press drop. And that will essentially drop all of the Nevidium into space, and then they'll go and pick up whatever's on their wear list, which in this case will then be set to silicon. So you can then proceed and go back to another resource that is working. If the developers are watching, one thing that will be amazing, particularly because we have a lot of miners and maybe a lot of traders, is to be able to shift click like this, which you can already do, but then right click and then be able to say, change the rules. So have a screen saying, no, I want you all to just go for silicon now only, and set them all as a group. And then, to be able to dump all of it. If they can't automatically dump, then give the player a choice with a manual dump option there, just so that they do reset. Because if they're full, they just don't seem to reset in my game anyway. So that's just a brief tip. Another one that came through just as a comment as I was actually reading this, and that was that people were having difficulty still getting an actual ship with a captain that can actually auto mine. And as far as I know, just go for the highest preset when you're buying something,
like a mining ship, and then just remove all the stuff off it that you can't afford or can't spend on, and you can bring it back down almost to the essentially the same cost as the minimum. It just sort of it may well be that affects the crew quality, or rather the captain quality. I've been doing that on my games, and I certainly have never received a 0-star captain. It could just be random, but ideally, of course, we want that to be the case, and then we can deal with it. Okay, so as you can see, my miners are now all heading to trade, so they are up and running again. You'll see the little basket symbol, and that's going to happen all the way down. I'm not going to keep changing the names perhaps to reflect what they're mining. I'll leave them like that. Ideally, this system, if we just went for this, ideally I could add wares here, and then it would look to see whether it could sell the wares before choosing to mine them. Again, if the developers are listening, that will be excellent, i.e. if I put Nvidium at the top here, it would try that first. And if that couldn't be sold, if it knew it can't be sold, then it would jump down to silicon, then it would jump down to ore. And a prioritized list, some kind of smart scripting there would really help with doing this. Because right now, it seems the only thing you can actually do here is set one ware. Otherwise, it'll just pick whichever one you put in first, it seems. So that would be fine if everything can be sold. Once the economy picks up, with the war picking up, then hopefully that will stay true, and we can just assign Nvidium and silicon and whatever else they need, and they can start going. Obviously, I've got 4 large miners already. 3 of them, this one is actually doing silicon as well, even though it says ore. I'll switch it to ore once our station's ready, the prime factory, and 1 methane. So that, in fact, how's our methane miner doing? Information, methane, are you filling? You're not filling. Why aren't you filling? Can you not find any methane? Maybe if we just increase the distance it can actually travel to find it. So let's put it up to 4 and see if it actually finds it there. And we can just check our logbook to see if it's actually ever sold any methane. Logbook. Let's have a look. So, we are actually selling stuff to a silicon refinery, so we should start getting some reputation with the Paranid. Not enough for that ship that I want, but, you know, fine. So we've been selling silicon, energy cells, food rations. We sold 666 food rations to a food trader. Okay. But that was 30,000 credits. So, yeah, we sold plenty of that. So that station is up and running. We could set up another one if we wanted to, or improve its speed, but that is perfectly fine. We're selling energy credits as well at 34,000. Silicon, energy cells, silicon. Yeah, we haven't been selling Nvidium for some time, it seems. How far back do we need to go? How long has this been stalled? Just energy cells, it seems. Yeah. Just energy cells. So that's been stalled for some time. So hopefully now that should actually fix itself. Now that, well, not fix itself. I should have now fixed it, and things should keep going. We're up to 4.5 million, and we're due another 500,000 from trades. So at this point, to get enough revenue from silicon that we got from Nvidium, well, I could just go to large miners. They will sell the same kind of amount of silicon that the miners can get, the medium miners can get from Nvidium. However, doing that, will I max out the silicon market? So, yeah, probably worthwhile holding a little bit of reserve until I see how the war's going. Oh, and one other brief note, it doesn't appear to be anything to do with a satellite being nearby to a station. It's just that you have to go and scan the station to go and see everything about it. So the more you scan with that Shift 2 mode, the more information you get about it, and then you get the ability like this to be able to see what's on board. So in this case, the Teladi Wharf is short on advanced electronics, or it's not full at least, and engine parts, and Nostrop oil. Now, Nostrop oil is the food source. So if we wanted to keep supplying food to more than just, say, the Argon, we could start manufacturing Nostrop oil in that same food complex, or probably in that same food complex that we're manufacturing everything else. What does Nostrop oil need? I assume it's going to need exactly the same things as... let me just look it up in the encyclopedia if I can find it. Do you have a search function? Wares and Nostrop oil. Energy cells, spices, sunrise flowers, and water. So the only thing we can't, or we don't have in that food production facility is sunrise flowers. So if we want to add that, we'd need to get some way to make those. Sunrise flowers, are they made? And they're just made from energy cells and water and we're already making energy cells, and we're already making water. So if we get a sunrise flowers production and a nostrop oil production, first of all, we're using a biome on that particular station, Taladi biome, so we'll be able to feed our own food facility, so we don't have to buy it from anywhere else, which is good. So I just need a couple of production modules to finish that off. We can get that from, I assume, the Taladi wharf will have it from their representative. Is that nearby? Am I close? I am close. Let's just start the guidance to there, spin around, and let's see if it's actually particularly expensive or cheap. It's probably going to be horribly expensive for the blueprint, but it's worthwhile having a look. Again, if the developer's listening, it may well be worthwhile having fixed resource sinks. Not just response to the war, but pretty much every other good. If it isn't being used up by the war, it will be nice for you to create some kind of system that still uses up resources. So maybe you justify it as accidental explosions in space, ships being lost, pirate activity, however you like. You want some kind of passive sink of resources so that things just don't stall if players obliterate the Xenon. And I haven't been too active in doing it. I've only destroyed a few ships this episode, but I imagine that many players, and maybe some of you watching, will have sort of killed them off a little bit more than I have. In any case, in my game, they are sort of building ships, so I'm happy about that, and they're firing, so there's nothing wrong with their AI, and there are destroyers coming through already, so we'll see how well it goes with my ship. Anyway, why am I even going here? I don't even need to... Oh, I'm so used to actually going to a station. Now that I have teleport, it's much, much easier. I'm going to teleport, and Ace, what a guy, will take over the ship for us, and we can just go across to the representative. No? Is it not here? This is the wharf. Where's the Taladi representative then? Ah, it's on the equipment dock, not on the wharf, so that's fine. What do we cost to buy some stuff from you? Show me your blueprints, modules. Can I actually buy anything from you? Nope. It seems like you're not going to sell me anything to produce nostrop oil. At least, not yet. Oh well, I will do that obviously as and when I can. And yeah, we'll go from there. Alright, so that's about it for this episode. We've just taken a quick look on the war updates, described some upcoming updates, including the return of Betty. She's going to read out everything in that you select in the shop interface. I hope that's available as an option. Lots of people like it. It's fine unless you're recording and you select something and you start talking and it starts saying stuff like, nostrop oil, this is a food item for the Taladi, every time you actually select something. Yeah, not for me. Anyway, I will leave it there for this episode, and next episode then I will see if I can track down whether we can actually make nostrop oil. I'll attach it to our food factory so we can supply the whole universe with food, and maybe we'll see what the Pyramid want as well, and build up that station. And of course, hopefully then our miners will start bringing me more credits in because I've then stopped them stalling. So we'll see you next episode for some X4. I probably will intersperse this with episodes of X3 Litcube. It is a very, very good addendum to the X3 Albion Prelude game. It's built on top of it, so Albion Prelude is the one you want if you're not going to get the Terran War Pack. Do bear in mind though that it is not... Litcube is not so much a very combat oriented mod. It is sort of like really big fleets, late in end game kind of territory kind of thing. If you leave it and you don't actually attack them, the enemies, they expand. I think it's something like 1 sector every in-game day. So you can imagine there may be over, it's like 100 sectors or something like that. You don't have very long before they become unstoppable. So I will warn you about Litcube. It is very possible to lose, so if you don't want to do that, just stick with Albion Prelude or Terran Conflict and you'll be fine. While, of course, we wait for more stuff from developers. And again, that 1.5 update is apparently going to be before Christmas, and given that it's like the 11th of December now, or for me, yeah, 11th of December, and it's 11th of December when this video comes out, then, yeah, next couple of weeks then, we'll get some more updates. Look forward to that. And of course, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, give it a like, subscribe and share if you haven't already. Click the bell if you want notifications, or follow me on Twitter if you want notifications. If not, don't worry, just come back later. Also, if you're only interested in X4, of course, you can just subscribe to the X4 playlist as opposed to the channel in general. Entirely up to you, whatever you find interesting. There are, of course, other games on the channel as well. Things like Graveyard Keeper, lots of little things, and a playthrough of modded Minecrafts. So yeah, you can take a look. Otherwise, we'll see you next time for some more X4. Thanks for watching.